everybody. We are back and we are ready to give you some more here on DBS this morning. And in this segment, I really want you to take the time out, pause just for about 5 minutes what you're doing, because this one is something I need to sink in. We observed World Mental Health Day earlier this month, and I want to keep mental health and mental wellness something very relevant because, again, I feel like we downplay it. So, right now, this video is something I stumbled across over the weekend, which really hit home for me, and hopefully, it will open your eyes, your ears, and your hearts and help us to be more empathetic. So, here we're going to tackle some of the stigmas against mental health.
You would never say to someone with a broken bone to just ignore their pain, that it'll just pass one day. You would never say about someone who has cancer that they're just faking it. It's just all for attention. You would never say to someone in a wheelchair, just stand up. It's all in your head. You would obviously never say that to any of these kinds of people because they didn't ask for it in their life. It's not like they chose to put it in their life. It should be the same for any other sickness or disability. No one asked to put this into their life, so they can't just snap out of it. Unfortunately, many people with mental illness have been told at least once in their life, just snap out of it. Trust me, if I could snap out of my anxiety and my depression, I would have done it long before anybody had to tell me. My illness isn't physically visible to you. You can't look at me and tell that I've been diagnosed with anxiety and depression. I mean, you can't really tell anyone who's mentally sick, and that's why it's kind of doubted in our society, because you just can't see it. The only people who can feel it are the people who have it. They can feel the battle inside them. I try not to blame myself for my anxiety and depression. I mean, as I said before, I didn't put it in my life. I didn't ask for it. It's just a result of the neurons in my brain working kind of abnormally. Many people have it because of a childhood trauma, or just it runs through genetics. It runs through my family. A family member of mine has also been diagnosed with anxiety and depression. She also had postpartum depression after having her children. She was fine for a little bit, but almost 10 years after having her last child, she admitted herself into a mental hospital for suicidal thoughts. She made the beyond correct decision to go get help. I hope when I say mental hospital, you don't picture this. Because in movies and stuff, it looks more like a jail, like a torture chamber where patients look more like prisoners. Even when I was looking up pictures for my slides, I could barely find a picture of what a mental hospital actually looks like. And it doesn't look much different than any other hospital wing. It's light and bright, and a lot of patients really do get better. My family member, she would send us coloring pages. She would call us and tell us how much better she was doing now that she had full-on access to a therapist. It's been almost a year and a half since she's been released from the hospital, and she's doing better. She owned her own business for a while. She is doing great at a new job, and she has a family that loves and cares for her. She is one of the greatest people I know. She's strong, and I look up to her every single day. My relative was lucky to get the treatment that she got in our society. Our society is very judgmental when it comes to mentally sick. Society tends to ostracize those who say that they're sick by calling them just crazy or overreacting. So that makes people who are sick tend to want to hide themselves. I've always stayed quiet, and so has everyone else in my family. But I don't want to be quiet about my illness anymore. I shouldn't be afraid to tell who I am. So as I said before, I've got anxiety and depression. I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was in 3rd grade. I would kind of just cry, like all the time, for no reason, or at least no reason that seemed rational. So I spent a lot of hours in the guidance counselor, and then I finally went to therapy. And it's been great. I love therapy. I mean, who doesn't want to sit in a room for an hour to someone who has to listen to you talk? It's helped me so much. I mean, therapy hasn't really gotten rid of my depression and anxiety, but more taught me how to beat it, how to cope with it. For example, in my late middle school years and my early years as a freshman in high school, I had a lot of depression. I was kind of just not really sad, but more felt nothing, felt worthless. And I kept going to therapy, and my therapist taught me, you can deal with it. Your mental illness is just an old-fashioned supervillain, and you're a superhero. You can beat it to the ground. So that's how therapy has helped me. Unfortunately, society hasn't just stigmatized therapy, but it's also stigmatized mental illness. It's so common to hear people say, wow, I'm so OCD because that thing just isn't lined up properly, or wow, that's so retarded. People shouldn't be saying these. If you've never had anxiety, you don't know what it feels like to have the entire world crashing around you for basically nothing. If you've never had depression, you don't know what it feels like to feel worthless, so don't make a joke about it. In a world where 1 in 5 adults have a mental illness, don't say how depressed you are because your favorite TV show ended. And don't say you're going to kill yourself and make tapes because your Starbucks barista didn't get your order correctly. It's not appropriate to say these anymore. TED is all about ideas we're sharing, and the idea I want to share with you all today is be nicer to people. I mean, it seems like such a basic message, but you never know what's going on in someone else's head. So just be nicer and make sure if you know someone with a mental illness that they know you're not judging them because of their mental illness. When I wrote this talk, I thought, how much should I share about myself? Should I just say I've got anxiety? Should I just say I've got depression? It's all been really personal my entire life. But then I realized that's why I wrote it. I shouldn't have to hide who I am anymore. It's hard enough working with this mental illness itself. So I should be comfortable in my own skin, and so should anyone else. Thank you.
Welcome back, St. Lucia. Good morning. As we continue right here on DBS this morning, I want to remind you that recently we observed our La Marguerite Flower Festival. Now with that, I'm bringing you a recap from different parts of the island, as well as some feedback from our very own St. Lucians as to how we can keep our culture alive.
Ramona Henry Wynn, Executive Director, Cultural Development Foundation. As a CDF, we believe preservation comes first through education. We believe that once our programming is designed in such a way that we can raise or heighten the awareness, the consciousness, the appreciation for the Flower Festival, I believe our work would have continued on. As we well understand, culture is not static, it's ever evolving. It's for us now to take that evolution and ensure that it is crafted in such a way that you don't lose the traditions. You want to ensure that the traditions remain, because this is the core of the festival, this is the core of your culture. So whatever it is that you do, you want to ensure that you can encourage the younger ones to be a part of it.
I think there's always a place for the flower festivals. I think it's just a matter of prioritizing it. If we make it a priority, or if we make it more community-based, although we have some communities that do prioritize the flower festivals like Bellevue and Moshi and Moripo, if we make it more popular and more centralized, probably then maybe that would help in communicating it throughout the generations. But I do think that it does have a place.
culture is dynamic. It's not static. It continues to evolve as time goes on. And the Flower Festival, as well as which is the Magritte, as well as the Laos Festival, has been something that our people have emulated from our colonial masters. It's a time when our colonial masters dressed like kings and queens, and we thought that we didn't have the kind of opportunity, so we used this to emulate them. The kings, the queens, the nurses, the doctors, the policemen, the soldiers, and so on. Based on the fact that youngsters are involved, so it means it's a continuation of that particular culture. Again, it's a St. Lucia thing, and we want to ensure that it's part of our identity, that we celebrate a particular festival, which we'll want to do for years to come.
Vive la Marguerite! Vive la Marguerite! Vive la Marguerite! Vive la Marguerite! I want to say, this is our culture. We will not let it die.
Rien ouais jeune maman involve là-dedans et qui ont intéressé, il va toujours continuer. Mais on va quoi si le gouvernement prend un plus gros partant dans ça, il va pousser et qui pas mort. Et surtout l'année nom comme moi c'est nom Kouldia, m'a jamais lâché ça. Vous comprenez? Si moi positively d'où comme ça des jeunes maman involve dedans, il pas mort parce que c'est génération après génération et que cette génération après nous, so il continue à aller. Là où c'est que la Magritte pas mort.